Assalamualaikum ladies and gentlemen. A very good afternoon to all of you. Selamat datang ke program kami. And kindly register your attendance dekat designated QR code area located near the entrance. Okay, siapa yang belum register lagi tolong register dan menggunakan QR code tu. Acara kita akan bermula sebentar saja lagi. Jadi diminta untuk orang ramai masuk ke dalam dewan, masuk ke dalam hall ini untuk penuhkan kerusi. Dan juga sambil itu anda diminta untuk silentkan phone anda. Thank you very much for your cooperation. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh dan salam Malaysia Madani. Yang berbahagia Dato' Amir Azhar bin Ibrahim, Acting Group Chief Executive Officer of Mara Corporation. Yang berbahagia Dato' Muhammad Sumali bin Ridwan, Chairman of Mara Liner Sdn Bhd. Yang berbahagia Dato' Dr. Budiman Muhammad Zohdi, Chairman of UniKL Resources Sdn Bhd. Board of Directors and members of the management of Mara, Mara Corporation, Mara Liner Sdn Bhd, UniKL, UniKL Resources Sdn Bhd, distinguished panelists, strategic partners, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Synergy Summit, Maritime and Logistics Driving National Connectivity and Growth Synergy Summit. Give them a big round of applause. Saya Yasmin Hani, and it is my great honor to be your MC for today. First and foremost, let us express our gratitude to Allah Almighty for this meaningful gathering. We would also like to extend a warm welcome and my sincere appreciation to all distinguished guests for gracing this forum with your presence. Distinguished guests, tanpa melengahkan masa lagi, kita mulakan agenda pada pagi ini dengan sesi forum dengan tajuknya Unlocking ECRLS Full Potential Integrating Maritime, Rail and Mobility Systems. To lead this forum, I invite Yang Berusaha Mr. Wan Agil Wan Hassan, Chief Executive Officer of Mara Liner Sdn Bhd, to take the stage as our moderator. Dipersilakan. Please also welcome our distinguished panelists, Mr. Farizul Hazli Baharum, Managing Director of Berjaya Rail Sdn Bhd, subsidiary of Berjaya Group. Dipersilakan. Seterusnya, Profesor Teknologis Dr. Muhammad Zali Shah, President of the Chartered Institute of Logistics and Transport, CILT. Dipersilakan. Seterusnya, Mr. Muhammad Fairuz Rozali, Director, Safety of Navigation and Maritime Communication Division, Policy Planning of Malaysia Marine Department. Dipersilakan. Baiklah, semua sudah berada di atas pentas. Mr. Wan Agil, the floor is yours.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Yasmin Hani, our MC today. And thank you everyone and panelists for your appearance today. So, Mara turned 60 this year. That's a very long time. And this forum is really asking one question. What does the next 60 looks like? So, I'm Wan Agil, CEO of Mara Liner. We run buses, of course. And if you're wondering what a bus company is doing here, talking about ECRL, I think because of we have the interests of the ECRL, of course. So I just want to introduce all the panels for today. Let me introduce each and one of them. So we have Farizul Hazli bin Baharum. Farizul is one of the most complete vantage point, I would say, in Malaysian transport. He has sat in the Aegis Chambers, the Economic Planning Unit, EPU, and the Ministry of Transport. He helped establish the Land Public Transport Commission, shaped the legal and technical framework for cross-border rail, and was part of the team that introduced e-hailing together with me back in 2014, 2016. So he has since crossed into private sectors, automotive industries, construction, mobility, and also now Berjaya Rail as a CEO. A legal head, ministerial advisor, CEO. He has seen same infrastructure problem from 3 complete different seats, and that's a very rare thing. He also a former colleague of mine from SPAD era, and I think he won't give an easy answer for this session, so that's why he's here. And Cik Farizul, please welcome Cik Farizul to the stage. So we have Prof. Zali, I call him Prof. Zali, also someone I know from a long time ago. He was my former lecturer during my time in UTM. So Prof. Zali is a professor of transportation planning at UTM, director of their Center of Innovative Planning and Development, and also the president of CLT Malaysia for the 2nd term now. Congratulations, Doc. Before academia, he worked in manufacturing and aviation, so he brings both research depth and also practical grounding to how he looked at the transport system. He advised the government and logistic also a transport human capital and sits at the board of the Johor Public Transport Corporation. So Prof. Zali, welcome. And last but not least, we have Encik Muhammad Fairuz Rozali, spent nearly 30 years at Jabatan Laut Malaysia. He's been a ship surveyor, port state control officer, ISM and ISPSS auditor, led the oil spill incidents response operations from 2021 and 2024 to 2024. He was Malaysia's maritime attaché in the IMO in London, and during that time helped Malaysia retain its IMO council seat for 2 consecutive terms. He now leads the Safety of Navigation and Maritime Communication Division. He brings something that this panel needs, of course, the maritime governance perspective and the international one. So, Encik Fairuz, welcome. Right, we do not have much time, I was told, so I'm just going to go straight to the session. So, for many of us, we already know that ECRL is a game changer. I think this is not the first time we heard an infrastructure project that called as a game changer in Malaysia. We used to have LRT, MRT, KTM. Sometimes it's true that this infrastructure get built and nothing much change around it. The track has laid, the stations open, and passengers stand on the platform somewhere in Dungun or Mentakap wondering how to get to the final destination. So I just want to start with a very simple question to all three of you. Let's start with this simple question. 90 minutes each, if that's okay. Do not, don't focus on a preamble. The question is very simple. What does ECRL success actually looks like to you? And what's the one thing most likely to stop it? I will start with Encik Farizo.
Yeah, thank you, Chair Gil. Distinguished guests and participants of this forum. That's a very big question, Gil. But from my perspective, any form of connectivity is already a success. So in the context of ECRL, the vision is to actually focus on logistics to ensure there are more efficient transportation of goods, especially. But not forgetting, I think they have earmarked at least 30% of their service for passengers. So from there, we can see that it's almost a multimodal operation. Of course, when it comes to passenger, it's a bit tricky because we need to also look at the first and the last mile. So I would say right out of, based on the concept, I think right out of the bat, we would think that you can depend on freight as the most viable business model. And once the first and last mile connectivity is addressed, you can have a very comprehensive freight and passenger service by MRL, which is the operator, together with CCCC.
Right, yeah. Thank you. So what about you, Dr. Zali? How do you see ECRL from your perspective?
Right, thank you. I like when you mention about ECRL as a game changer, because it actually does change the game of transportation and logistics in Malaysia, especially in Peninsular Malaysia. Because I think for many years, the focus was always on the West Coast. And with these new services that we are going to have soon, I think the shift has been to the East Coast. And that means that the resources, the economic opportunities are now, it's more nationalistic. It's not just focused.
It's not focusing on the West Coast side of the country, right?
So everything now is accessible and connected between East and West. So I think that is a real game changer, and that give us a lot of opportunities that we have not had before. I think something to look forward to. That's basically it.
So, but do you think there's anything that will stop this from happening?
Oh, of course. I think we are focusing a lot on infrastructure. We should also focus equally if not more, on the integration between infrastructure and the businesses. I think that is, something that is very critical, and it has to be done now. And I have not seen any simulation to see, whether this integration will work. That I think is a critical path in order to ensure the success of ECRL.
Thank you, Prof. Let's move to Encik Fairuz. Sir,
Yeah.
what do you think of ECRL?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Moderator, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I would like to start with a bit odd that, but I would like to quote a statement from the Prime Minister Yang Berhormat Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim, as well as our Transport Minister, just giving me some a bit longer time that on issue pertaining to ECRL. What I would like to read here actually on strategic independence that it is quoted by our Prime Minister, whether it is the Indian Ocean or the South China Sea, we maintain our right and our fierce independence in resolving our differences. Okay, the ECRL is a strategic initiative that will strengthen Malaysia's position as a regional connectivity and logistic hub in the Southeast Asia. That's one thing. On second note, from the Transport Minister, on the land bridge, I mean, people talking about ECRL, most people, citizens call it a land bridge, but I will come to that. But just to quote that, Anthony Long mentioned that the ECRL is a port-to-port land bridge connecting Kuantan Port on the east coast to North Port and West Port in Port Klang. The integration offers competitive logistic costs and improves delivery times for goods, bypassing the busy Singapore Straits. So with these two, I would like to combine that. Okay, this is my own words in terms of what you're asking basically. People try to address it as a land bridge, but for Malaysia Marine Department, we look into this as a dry canal. So this is something quite a bit diversion. But having said that, a dry canal linking Kuantan Port to Port Klang, it allows shipping lines to offload cargo on one coast and reload on the other, which bypassing the increased congested Singapore Straits. I mean, looking at the numbers of ships passing Straits of Malacca is more than 100,000 ships per day, or I would say, in a year. So per day is basically about 3,000 to 4,000 ships passing the Straits of Malacca with a larger size of 3 football field. Just imagine VLCC carrying 300,000, 400,000 deadweight ton of crude oil. So imagine on that. So of course, ECRL will reduce in terms of logistic costs, in terms of shorten transit time, and improve connectivity between the industrial areas on both coasts. So this is basically to reflect what has been the statement by our Prime Minister as well as Minister of Transport Anthony Loh. So this is where actually the proof, the testimony that the success of our planning towards the ECRL. I mean, I'll stop you on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
So I think we've heard your views, all panels' views.
Yeah.
I think one of the critical part is on the integration itself. While we can have the infrastructure ready to carry freights and also passengers, but also the question is whether we can get it integrated with other modes like the last mile connectivity, the ports itself, right? So this one is for you, Mr. Fairuz. So ECRL is mostly talk about rail story, right? Port Klang sits at the end of the corridor, not to mention we have the Port of Kuantan next to the alignment. Coastal shipping, feeder ports, sea freights, all of that fits into ECRL. Now the question is very straightforward. How ready is Malaysian maritime side for what ECRL could generate? Is the regulatory framework is ready, fit into that purpose? And what about our ports? Because as our discussion earlier, it seems like Port of Kuantan, for example, is not ready to take up. And not to mention when the Chief Minister of Pahang really asked for government to re-look into the ratio of 70-30 just now, right? So we used to have a 70% for freight, 30% for passengers, but the MB asked for the government to review it and look into carrying more passengers than freights because of there is a thinking that the adoption for freight it's not going to happen very big.
Well, it depends to the challenges. It depends to the survival. Uh, this is where that I would say that maybe step by step, Westport as such, the expansion of Westport 2 per se, that which involve construction of 8 new container terminals. So this is something basically that, having said that, having a new container terminal, meaning to say there will be a reclamation activities. So over that, I believe that Westport 2 will commence within, I mean, the period of that will undergo from 2026 up to 2040, meaning to say that it will completed throughout, which basically later on we will basically forward support the Israel. On the other hand, the Kuantan port, the Deepen seaport, this is quite tricky. But again, the Ministry of Transport, the government, the Ministry of Sampai as such, looking towards in terms on how to enrich, how to encourage the participation of the industry through a public-private partnership. So meaning to say that in this case, that is there any interest parties who come appeared to the front, informing that they come with some business modality in terms of investment and fundings, in terms of infrastructure and connectivity, plus with a strategic significance. So this is something that I believe later, sooner or later, will complement the Israel. I mean, while we chit-chat basically previously in terms of the percentage of 70-30 to 50-50, so I'm looking that very positive, because what I'm saying that, what I'm looking at, knowing Malaysians like to travel a lot, instead of driving by car. I mean, sorry to those, my colleague from Pantai Timur, they, during Hari Raya, they will, of course, 12 hours for them, basically it's nothing. Yeah, but again, this is something that will boost in terms of the local tourism activities. It will boost basically numbers of areas that throughout the Israel could actually boost the economy. I'm giving an example. One of the question when I post when we have a session with Yang Berhormat Timbalan, Menteri Kewangan kedua, Senator Amir Hamzah, Datuk Seri Amir Hamzah at that time. I'm asking during the session, I'm asking him whether, Datuk, are we basically competing with Singapore in terms of becoming a top 10, top 20 port activities, commercial port in the world? But Datuk Seri Amir Hamzah told me that basically, I mean, during with all the Indian government, he said, no, our aim basically to boost the economy of the local, or the locality, the domestic, rather than competing to be number 1, number 2, number 3 of the port. So the aim is different. So we are looking into on how we could grow the economy of the locality, how basically we enhance the business modality, and we giving more opportunities to others in ensuring basically to connect from east to west, west to east, and vice versa.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you. So Dr. Zali, I just want to write on your comment that the integration can be a showstopper for Israel. And of course, I'm not going to lie, I'm a CEO of Maritime. It's always an interest of Maritime to become the dispersal mode for passenger transport in Israel. So it's always a dream for us to come into that particular area. So we also find it's very hard to execute. So the question is, what does first and last mile integration actually require to work? I mean, not in theory. I mean, practically on the ground, how can we make it happen? And what would a bus network that generally serve a rail corridor need to look like? I mean, of course, we cannot imitate what happened in KL, because ACRL is a different kind of animal when it comes to rail ecosystem, right? So how you see this?
Actually, in transportation, it's very easy. There's a formula. Now, you have to deal with seamless integration, and you have to ensure that there is first mile and last mile connectivity. If you don't have that, nothing works. I've seen that. So the problem is, it is not about technology. No, we have the best technology. We can purchase technology. The problem is integration. And unfortunately, we always look at integration and success from the perspective of infrastructure. Now, the businesses don't look at infrastructure. No, they don't. They look at total cost, total time. No, that is where we fail. No, we look at the time that we require to travel between point A to point B, but from point B to the final destination, who is taking care of that? Nobody measure that. So I think what the problem is, we have to look at how we ensure that we are able to measure, analyze, and optimize total movements rather than movements on the infrastructure only. Unfortunately, we have many agencies, and they have different KPIs. Marine department look at only sea. Rail department only look at the infrastructure of rail. Connecting them, who is looking at that? So that is what is missing to me solely, and we are repeating the same mistake. We have seen that happening. Why? As a professional society, I think this is something that is untenable. We should stop that. So look at integrating totally rather than just piecemeal at different infrastructures.
So I'm just gonna ask.
System.
I'm just gonna shift to Farizul for a while. So it's not a data issue, right? It seems like a governance issue. So how Farizul see it?
Okay, this problem, I think almost everybody is aware of in terms of a holistic solution to transportation. Well, let's call it mobility lah. That's the word that we use now, mobility. And it's not just about mobility of people, it's also mobility of goods. Goods, it's much easier. They don't have preference, they don't have feelings. So we don't need to worry about their comfort and safety lah, in a way. But of course, safety to a certain point, you have to. But for passengers, they are a bit more complicated. You need to know their preference, their interest. So when it comes to ECRL as a game changer, I think Cik Fairuz has clearly elaborated on the positives of ECRL service. But for passengers, and as Cik Agil, you have mentioned that there are now demands or requests to look into providing more passenger service, and that in itself would cause, I would say, complications for the operation, but it can be a game changer also, because if the demand is there, you can actually make ECRL as a catalyst for not just business development, but also spatial development. So here we can talk about TOD, transit-oriented development. So we have stations along the 665 kilometer of ECRL. Now, each state need to identify what is the area that they can develop, because with the rail network that is going to be completed soon, we will have access to those areas. And if you look at examples globally, in Japan, in France, even in China now, they built the rail first, and then the township will sprout. But there needs to be an effort and planning by the state.
I think most of the time we always look at ECRL infrastructure, for example, as an isolation by itself. So what you were saying, and Dr. Zali saying, that now we need to start looking at this kind of infrastructure as an economic enabler. So we need to unlock certain potentials like TOD, like you mentioned just now, right? To make sure that we can really maximize the outcome of the ECRL. So I'm gonna ask all three of you one interesting question as well. So we've been talking about the infrastructure, we've been talking about the opportunity, we've been talking about the potential that we're going to have from ECRL, but nobody talking about the MRO. So we want to operate, but we also need to realize that we need to maintain, right? And when we want to maintain, we need infrastructure, we need the people, we need the talent. So what is the honest state of Malaysia's MRO capacity across maritime, rail, and road fleets? And do we have enough trained people, if we want to start there? And what changes when we shift from diesel to electric, for example? Perhaps I can start with Faisal.
yeah.
He's very interested in the rail MRO, I think.
Yeah, the crux of the matter is this: we need to have local talent. We need to develop local talent, be it rail or any other industry, because we cannot be depending on foreign technology in the long run. It's not sustainable. So when it comes to rail, you can also see examples. Nearest to us would be our neighbor lah. In Indonesia, you have the Jakarta-Bandung high-speed rail.
Yep.
It was partly financed and built by the Chinese. It was operated by the Chinese for the first 2 years. That's the understanding. Key to their sustainability and even feasibility of the operation would be a real transfer of technology. So I visited them. I've looked at how they plan to implement those transfer of knowledge and technology. On paper, it's good. But that's the thing. Whenever our government negotiates, for example, this ECRL, it's almost a 55 billion ringgit project,
Yep.
including construction and rolling stock. Key to that has to be the terms where the supplier needs to provide the transfer of technology program as part and parcel of the contractual agreement.
I agree.
So the relevant ministry would have to not just insist that those terms are in the contract, but also ensure that it's being implemented. So yes, MRO is important because you need, for rail, especially when you deal with logistics, which depends on punctuality, even passengers, you need that service level of 99% ideally, and you can't afford to have breakdowns.
Of course.
So MRO, yes, we may be depending on the Chinese in terms of the technology for the short term, but in the long term, we have to have the whole supply chain where we look into developing talents, which can then provide the support to ensure that the service is not disrupted, and that the capability of our local talent can go up to even service to level 4, not just L1 and L2 maintenance.
Thank you. Right, Encik Fairuz. So how are we doing on our vessel MRO?
Okay, I would like to share a glimpse on what the International Maritime Organization doing. Very recent that the IMO, so-called, have announced the theme for World Maritime Day for 2026-2027, from policy to practice, powering maritime excellence.
Oh,
So, I mean, sounds very
sexy.
yeah. Okay, but again, looking at that from policy to practice, powering maritime excellence, emphasize the importance of translating maritime policies into concrete actions. So as such, which combined in terms of talent, MRO, and so on, which ensuring that the international regulations effectively implemented at the national and operational levels. So looking at that perspective, we must also look into on UN SDG, Sustainable Development Goal. As such, SDG 9 on the industry, innovation, and infrastructure, whereby numbers of ministry look into on that. Under that paradigm, under that umbrella, the embed, there's so many programs looking into on industry, innovation, and infrastructure without specifying perhaps ECRL.
Yep.
Okay. but we need to realize that from this agenda, we need to look into on from policy to practice. We need to look into empowering as well and maritime excellence. So we might lack on this issue, on how to gain, but the government will have to do something about it. I give you an example when we're looking at the perspective of net zero carbon emission. We are looking into on alternative fuels, which Malaysia, for Ministry of Transport, we are fully engaged ourselves to comply with this net zero by 2050. Looking at this perspective, we are talking about the alternative fuel. We are talking about the usage of methanol, ethanol, and where we could hire all these people in basically dealing, loading, unloading all these bunkering activities on such alternative fuel. So the IMO as such have come with a clear picture, okay, we should have developed all the guidelines, develop all the resolutions, which pursue the member states or the IMO to ensure that they have a clear picture on that. Following to that, I give you an example that IMO come to Malaysia and audit whether are we part of the member state ratifying, complying to this requirement, convention, so on. Are we actually look into on that? So this is where that Malaysia come with the National Transport Policy 20 NTP up to 2030. So in that NTP, so this is where that we that we are looking into on the, sorry to say, the NTP in terms of MRO, the intelligence, the talent. So there's actually boosting the area on enhancing the personnel, the skill to support these ancillary services, the port automation, the infrastructure, the port and so on. And further to that, we also work together with numbers of trust account, a trust deed to ensure that these talent are not left behind. Mr. Moderator, I give you an example. What happened to those students who are basically, those days during my time, dapat grade 3? So what they are doing? So this is where actually Malaysia come forward, because we look, this type of people is having grade 3 during my time. Okay, they actually the hardcore person who actually can work on board the vessel, working 3 months di laut, on the sea, without coming back to their hometown, and gain basically their salary up to $10,000 and so on. So this type of people actually we are engaging. This type of people that we are training them to be the very hardcore personnel to be the seafarer, as well of oil and gas. So we have a very clear portion on how we need to groom up, how we basically stimulate this type of personnel, group of people to cater to support the ECRL as a whole. Believe it's a compliment, the ECRL.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. So, Dr. Zali, so you are the president of CLT. I think CLT is always about the capability building and make sure that the industry will be supplied with good talents, and we have enough pool of talents. But it goes back to my question just now. Are we ready in the sense of talent? Because Farizul said just now, while we having China investment coming in, we can't really see the element of technology transfer, knowledge transfers happening. So how CLT sits from talent point of view?
Very difficult question.
I hope it's not going to trouble you.
See, in talent development, there's also supply and demand.
Yep.
And the supplier or the supply of the talent, the students, also look at employability. If I take up courses in rail or maritime, will I get job? Good jobs. So this is where the imbalance are. Do we have demand? Do we know what is the demand? And do we have enough opportunities to provide the supply? I think we should not see that this industry is only on the technical part. The industry must also be supported by data analysts, engineers, operation managers, and I think we have not enough programs that address this gap. And I'm happy that this session is being brought by Mara, because I think this is where Mara can play a very important role. With you have huge.
Oh, yeah, we have our TVET, we have our GAT Mara.
GAT Mara, and don't just look at Malaysia, because Malaysia is small. Export our talent, or even attract talents, potential talents from overseas to come to Malaysia to be trained. And I'm sure we have some kind of say to the supplier in China, for example, to transfer some of this technology. I just came back from Shanghai. I visited Jiangsu College, Maritime College. They have simulators, ship simulators, train simulators. Why can't we have that in Malaysia? I think there is huge opportunity, and if this opportunity is not being taken up, we lose it. Malaysia ni memang pandai hilang opportunity.
Yeah, we lost a lot of talent too, right?
Saya, the one I always tell others is about waktu COVID dulu. We had the opportunity to work from home, but we go back to office. Now we are facing with fuel crisis. If we had done that before, we would not have that. Now we have ECRL. We have policies, road to rail. 70% of volume on the road is occupied by trucks.
Yep.
If we can shift that to rail, we don't have to build bigger roads. And we can transfer that money to something else. And if we are successfully transfer the road volume to rail, demand is there. So, talent will be there.
I just want to interject you a bit on that. You were saying that shifting the adoption from roads to rail, if it can make it happen, that it will be fantastic. But again, when it comes to the business sense, right? Most of the companies or most of the consignees, they just don't want to use rail because it's much more expensive, and they will stuck remain using roads. So how are we going to make it happen? How we find that balance between the business concerns and also the policy concerns?
See, I think the biggest concern is handling, double handling, for example. The biggest concern is time. They don't want their commodities, cargoes to remain idle. And that creates a lot of issues. If you want that policy, rail to road, to be successful, we have to address that concerns seriously.
Okay.
Not just policy. We are good in coming up with all plans. We have many plans.
Too many plans.
Some
Sometimes it's contradicting.
Confused. Planning macam mana integrate dengan company.
Yep.
And then you have to have another plan to integrate all the plans. So implementation. Show that we mean what we say.
Yeah.
That's critical.
Yep. I think in the sense of talents, it's quite clear on what we need to do. I was told that there are also a couple of students from UniKL here. If I can see, show hands, UniKL students. Do we have UniKL students? Oh yeah, back there. So I think in UniKL we have rail engineering courses as well that we can build. So Mara, basically we have everything. So to Berjaya Rail and also to Maritime Department, you can perhaps explore potential to collaborate more on talent with Mara.
Okay,
so,
Mr. Gill,
yeah.
allow me, I think we got some time. I just giving a simple example. I went to one of the convocation, my son convocation previously here. I think end of last year.
Yep.
So during that time, KPTM.
KPTM, yes.
Yeah, produced about, I thought that only KPTM, a course for science sport, diploma, I thought it's maybe about 30 to 50. Then I thought that, okay, where is my son's time basically to come forward and receive his scroll? I keep waiting. Just imagine I'm basically about 300 to 400 diploma, basically on that day receiving a scroll, only for sports science.
Sports science.
And just imagine, where are they? 300 to 400, where are they? So this is basically the talent that could be diverted to look into this industry. I mean, I giving a simple example.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking that other KPTM may also having the similar approach, who basically giving an opportunity for them to inform that, okay, this is where you should be, rather than you focusing on sports science, but there must be a spirit, there must be a lesson that you could use for the ESRL.
During using the reskill programs, you think, yeah.
So this is something that I'm thinking of, from 300 to 400 diploma holding this sports science, maybe 10% are really look into on the same field. But how about the others? Where are they now?
Yeah.
So
So
perhaps
we always have this mismatch between industrial expectations and our education system. But I don't want to dwell into it too much because it's going to make this forum longer, and we need to shift subject on that particular part. So Farizul, I want to go back to rail. Malaysia has built rail before. I mean, this is not the first time that we built rail. We have our KTM, which still struggle to achieve and meet the expectations of passengers. We have LRT, which is now facing a lot of problems. We have MRT. Somehow it's not MRT problem, but people tend to steal cables that make MRT not working. So we still largely run them, but at the separate systems. So why has this true multimodal integration been so hard to achieve? Because is it technical or commercial or political reasons? And what makes ACRL different this time? Because you're part of this, right?
Yeah. So the short answer to that is all of the above. However, we have to admit that it's mostly because of a legacy issue. So when you talk about LRT, it's legacy issue. It was born out of a private initiative, and eventually taken over by Prasarana because it was just not sustainable as a private business.
Yeah.
So then Prasarana under MOF, of course, then undertook the responsibility. Public transport mostly is a social responsibility lah. But having said that, I don't think it's fair for the government to be 100% responsible in ensuring that there is an efficient mobility service to the rakyat. The private sector has to play their role. So hence why now you see a lot of people talking about PPP, private-public partnership. I would say public-private partnership first, public first.
Public first.
And PFI also. So when it comes to this kind of model, especially when you talk about PFI, private funding initiative, the government would be looking at the private sector to come up with the funding and come up with a financial or business model that is viable for them, because they do need to recover their investment. So if we were to look at, just use ECRL as an example. Okay, granted that for this particular project, government came up with the money, and they do have a G2G understanding with the funder. They do have a moratorium, but eventually they have to pay, and they need to be financially sustainable. So another example that was much talked about was like high-speed rail. At this juncture, the government decided not to
Continue.
continue because they think that the 50 or 60 billion ringgit that they need to spend on the project can be well spent elsewhere.
Yep.
So then it was up to the private sector to propose. Now, if you ask me personally, it's doable, but the private sector would have to sit down on the same table with the government, and not just one ministry. You have to get all of the relevant ministries involved and come up with the way forward to ensure that the investment can be recouped. Because government can make policies and give exemptions, incentives that would make the investment by the private sector, then more viable. This is what we call managing the risk.
Yep.
So we have to place the risk to the stakeholders which can manage that particular risk. So it's doable. Of course, you need to start talking.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's not all doom and gloom. Private sector can play a role together with government.
So we welcome Ketua Pengarah Mara Datuk Zul to the forum. I will just continue with question that's very important to Hari Mara. So this forum is part of Mara's 60th anniversary. So Mara was built on a promise that the Bumiputra Malaysian would lead the economy, not just to participate in it. So in logistics and transport today, we are building real ownership and capability, or are we still mostly subcontractors and operators role? And is there a risk that ECRL value chain get taken by foreign operators before Malaysian companies are ready? Because we already know that investment is coming from China. And we also know that there are also parts of the entire supply chain is not ready. So Dr. Zali, how do you see this? Will Hari Mara, I mean, because it's Hari Mara, will we be able to see Bumiputra to champion these industries in the future?
Interesting. You see, I would like to come back to my earlier comments, which was related to the integration part of the systems. I think this is an opportunity for Mara, because if we fail on the integration part, that business will go to the foreign companies. We will get foreigners to come and do the integration for us, do the analytics for us. This is the area where Mara has a national role to play. I think if Mara is able to do it, not only we will address the issue of integration within the ECRL ecosystems, but also integrations of many other mobility solutions in Malaysia. So there is huge opportunity for Mara on this aspect, and this requires the integration within an integration itself. To integrate all the systems, you have to integrate many experts,
components,
fields, in IT, transportation,
human capital,
technical, and all these are already within your ecosystem. Take up that challenge.
So are you asking Maralani to do it?
Yes.
So Encik Fairuz, so what do you think of I mean, of course you're from the maritime industries, right? So what do you think of that?
I think things speak by itself. I mean, in Latin language, they call it res ipsa liquata, things speak by itself. Mara have proven that for so many years. I mean, of course, congratulations on the 60th commemoration of Mara anniversary, one thing for sure. But Mara have proven that for so many years. There's so many ventures, there's so many activity, businesses has been, the business modeling has been successfully. And I would see that in terms of Israel, basically is basically cheapskate for Mara to entertain, because you have proven that for so many years. So I'm thinking that things speak by itself. Think that Mara, when you say the direction is clear, the past record is very successful, to certain legendary milestone and so on. So it's basically for Mara is easy way to deal, to tackle these issues.
So you're also a product of Mara, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm basically from MRSM Balik Pulau. So those days Balik Pulau, just imagine during the Durian Festival, that's basically the first thing first that we are going towards the Durian. But being a Mara, part of Mara since 90s, so I have basically a good feeling that Mara have basically speak by itself, that proven so many things.
All right. Cik Farizul, what do you think? What's your thoughts on this?
I, for one, look forward to working closely with Mara as a whole in general, but specifically also with Mara Liner, because I see that, again, the ecosystem is there, as what Dr. Zali mentioned. From producing the talent up to the downstream, which is giving rendering out the service, and the back end pula you have the capability for to do the MRO. So talking in that context, I'm quite excited to collaborate with Mara and Mara Liner, and I only see positive in near future and the long term.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant.
Inshallah.
So here's what I take from today. The problem is not that we don't know how to build. We know how to build it. The problem is how we're going to operate what we built. So it requires integrations, you need talent capabilities, talent developments, and make sure that every components, every parts is working together.
Yeah.
And we are looking forward to work with so many partners in the future. Thank you very much, everyone. Give a big applause to our panels. So I'll pass back to the MC.
Thank you to our panelists and moderator for such a profound insight, and we believe our audience benefit much from this forum. Panelists and moderator, mohon untuk kekal di atas pentas bagi sesi penyampaian cenderahati. And now we kindly invite Yang Berbahagia Datuk Zulfikri bin Osman, Director General of Majlis Amanah Rakyat, to present the mementos to our panelists and also our moderator for today. And I would like to invite Mr. Wan Agil Wan Hassan. Terima kasih, dan seterusnya Mr. Farizul Hazli. Terima kasih. Seterusnya Dr. Muhammad Zali. Alright, dan seterusnya Mr. Muhammad Fairuz. Thank you, gentlemen, and we kindly request Dato' Zulfikri to remain on stage for the next session. The Synergy Summit is not only a forum, it is a platform for action, and today we are proud to witness formalization of 15 strategic partnership. Among them are between Mara Liner, Unicel Resources, and our industry collaborators on full spectrum of Malaysia's mobility and logistic ecosystem. Baiklah, I now invite distinguished guests together with CEO of Mara Liner Sdn Bhd, Mr. Wan Agil Wan Hassan, on stage, please. Ladies and gentlemen, may I now invite Tuan Haji Azharul Faizi bin Haji Zakaria Ansari, Chief Executive Officer Batteriku Malaysia Sdn Bhd, to the stage to exchange the Memorandum of Understanding. This partnership brings Batteriku's expertise in EV roadside assistance and emergency mobility services into our growing ecosystem. Terima kasih. May I now invite Mr. Rashid Shukur, Acting Country Managing Director, Grab Malaysia, and Mr. Ebi Azli Abdullah, Country Head of Public Affairs and Policy of Grab Malaysia, to the stage to exchange the Memorandum of Understanding. This collaboration brings together the strengths, expertise, and resources to promote shared initiatives and deepen cooperation across key areas of transportation. Thank you, gentlemen. May I now invite Mr. Richard Wong, Chairman and President, Tron Bradbury Energy Malaysia, and Mr. Zam Zalman, Director, Tron Bradbury Energy Malaysia, to the stage to exchange the Memorandum of Understanding. This partnership drives Malaysia's transition toward electric vehicle technology. Thank you, gentlemen. May I now invite Mr. Said Ahmad Fukaha bin Said Agil, Chief Executive Officer, Katsana Holdings, Sdn Bhd, to the stage to exchange the Memorandum of Understanding. This partnership is to elevating operational efficiency and driving smarter fleet excellence across Mara Liners network. Thank you, gentlemen. May I now invite Mr. Farizul Hazli bin Baharum, Managing Director, Berjaya Rail, subsidiary of Berjaya Group, to the stage to exchange the Memorandum of Understanding. Dipersilakan. This landmark collaboration positions Mara Liner and Berjaya Rail as strategic partners in building a world-class Bumi Putra LED rail and mobility ecosystem for Malaysia. Thank you, gentlemen. Now, may I now invite Mr. Ahmad Azrin bin Zainal Abidin, Chief Executive Officer, and Mr. Zaki Ahmad Sapiuddin, Business Development Director of Takjuri Sdn Bhd, to the stage, please. This partnership brings together Mara Liner and Takjuri to optimize fleet operation throughout smart geospatial technology, enhancing efficiency across our network. Thank you, CEO of Mara Liner. We now respectfully request Dato' Zulfikri and distinguished guests to graciously remain on stage as we proceed to the next strategic collaboration agreement. I now invite CEO and President of UniKL, Yang Berbahagia Professor Insinyur Dr. Azman Senin, to join us on stage. May I now invite Mr. Muhammad Rizal Muhammad Sapari, Group Chief Business Development Officer, Harta Suma Sdn Bhd, to stage to exchange the strategic collaboration. The collaboration between both parties aims to establish a UniKL Harta Suma Center of Excellence, COE, in cable car technology and ropeway systems. Thank you, Dr. Azman Senin and Mr. Muhammad Rizal. Ladies and gentlemen, our partnership stories continue. I now invite General Manager Mr. Anwar bin Ibrahim to join us on stage, please. May I now invite Mr. Muhammad Talha Zainul, Managing Director, Defense System of Rimbun Emas Defense Systems, Sdn Bhd. This strategic collaboration with Rimbun Emas Defense Systems Sdn Bhd is part of URSB's approach to strengthening project execution through partnerships within the shipbuilding and ship repair (SBSR) sector. Thank you, sir. May I now invite Mr. Muhammad Azam bin Safian, Managing Director of ACE Venture Sdn Bhd, to the stage to exchange the strategic collaboration. Dipersilakan. This strategic collaboration with ASE, am I correct? Okay, Venture Sdn Bhd is part of URSB's effort to strengthen project execution through partnerships in the shipbuilding and ship repair SBSR sector, particularly in vessel and boat maintenance. Thank you. May I now invite Yang Berbahagia Dato' Harlizan Hassan, Chief Executive Officer of Mulia Synergy Sdn Bhd to the stage, please. Dipersilakan. This strategic collaboration with Mulia Synergy Sdn Bhd supports URSB's effort to explore new business opportunities, particularly in the commercial vessel and oil and gas (ONG) segments. Thank you, gentlemen. May I now invite Mr. Abbas Haider Bilgrami, Chairman of the Board of Advisor, and Mr. Wan Ahmad Zahid bin Wan Muhammad, Chief Executive Officer of Mutiara Perlis Sdn Bhd to the stage to exchange the letter of intent. This LOI focuses on exploring opportunities including the development of maritime facilities at Sanglang Port, Perlis, as well as undertaking activities related to both government and commercial vessels. Thank you, gentlemen. May I now invite Mr. Muhammad Fadli Muhammad Noor, Chief Executive Officer of AIG Holdings Sdn Bhd to the stage to exchange the letter of intent. This LOI covers opportunities in marine and offshore engineering, industrial solutions, and digital technologies, alongside business development initiatives and market access for maritime and oil and gas related projects. Thank you, Mr. Fadli. May I now invite Mr. Muhammad Nasir bin Haji Abdul Aziz, General Manager of Langkawi Port Sdn Bhd to the stage to exchange the letter of intent. This LOI focuses on exploring opportunities in developing and operating Ro-Ro ferry services, maritime asset development, and port and logistics activities in Langkawi and surrounding areas. Thank you, Mr. Nasir. May I now invite Mr. Hasnizan bin Hassan, Chief Executive Officer of Glide Marine Sdn Bhd to the stage, please. This strategic collaboration with Glide Marine Sdn Bhd focuses on various projects with Agensi Penguatkuasaan Maritim Malaysia (APMM) dan Pasukan Polis Marin (PPM) in providing shipbuilding and ship repair solutions. Thank you. We have now arrived at the final segment of our program, which is the Surat Setuju Terima SST handover from Jabatan Laut Malaysia to UniKL Resources Sdn Bhd. To proceed, may I kindly invite Tuan Haji Abdul Majid bin Haji Rais, Pengarah Laut Wilayah Jabatan Laut Malaysia Wilayah Utara to the stage, please. The SSTs includes perkhidmatan penyelenggaraan bot Tanjung Piandang milik Jabatan Laut Malaysia Wilayah Utara. Perkhidmatan penyelenggaraan bot Permata 1 milik Jabatan Laut Malaysia Wilayah Utara. kerja-kerja pembaikan dan penyelenggaraan bot layar 3 bagi Lembaga Dius Api Wilayah Utara. Thank you, gentlemen. And with that, we respectfully invite our guests of honor to make their way down from the stage, please. Dipersilakan. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, to commemorate today's event, we invite all guests for a group photography session, and I would like to invite all the photographers to be up on stage, please. Yang lain bersiap sedia untuk ambil gambar. Okay, semua bersedia? Ready? Photographers ready? All right. Smile in 3, 2, 1. Say cheese or keju. Okay, say cheese. Otherwise, kalau keju tu nampak macam duck face, ya. We don't want you to look like kissing the camera. No. Cheese. Okay, next pose is thumbs up. If you're happy today, thumbs up. Double happy, double thumbs up. Yeah. Okay, last one is mini love. Let's do that. Bring out the feminine side of you. Not too macho, innit? Never mind. Okay, so para hadirin sekalian, dengan berakhirnya sesi fotografi itu tadi, maka tamatlah sudah majlis rasmi kita. And on behalf of organisers, kami merakamkan setinggi-tinggi penghargaan kepada yang berbahagia Datuk Zulfikri bin Osman dan semua tetamu kehormat kita pada hari ini. We apologize for any shortcomings throughout the event, and my heartfelt thanks also go to all parties involved who have contributed their time and support towards the success of this event. For those looking to engage in further discussions, a dedicated networking area has been prepared at our rear hall for your convenience. Thank you once again for your time and have a wonderful day ahead. I am Yasmin Hani, signing off. Assalamualaikum.